Special report.
This is the face of Iran's leadership crisis. Just weeks after taking over as supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei has effectively vanished from public life. No speeches, no appearances, not even a recorded voice message. According to US media reports, Mojtaba is severely injured and unable to exercise centralized authority, communicating only through written notes. And in that silence, a vacuum, one now being filled not by clerics, but by generals. Iran is no longer being run from the Supreme Leader's office, but by a shadowy inner circle of IRGC commanders, effectively turning Iran into a military-led system. Instead of one supreme voice, decisions on war, diplomacy, and nuclear strategy are reportedly being made by a board of IRGC leaders. At the center of this shift, one powerful name, Ahmad Vahidi, a veteran of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, former defense minister, and now, according to multiple reports, the man effectively calling the shots in Tehran. From military operations to high-stakes negotiations with the US. His rise signals a hardline turn, sidelining moderates and tightening military control over the state. The new power structure also includes Mohammad Bagher Zolgadar, the newly appointed head of the Supreme National Security Council. Zolgadar is a former hardline commander of the Guards, a commander who has served as the top military advisor to both father and son supreme leaders.
They have all new leadership and they're fighting like cats and dogs for who's going to control. Because we've created a real mess for them, but they've created a mess for the world over the last 47 years. They've killed a lot of our people. We have been speaking to them, but they don't even know who's leading the country. They're in turmoil.
US President Donald Trump says Iran's leadership does not even know who's leading the country. Mojtaba's role appears increasingly symbolic, a leader in title but not in command. Iran was built around the idea of one supreme leader, but that system is now fracturing, and in the shadows of war and secrecy, the generals may already be in charge. Bureau report for NDTV World.
Well, Iran has pushed back against United States' claims of internal divisions, insisting that the country remains united as tensions escalate over the Strait of Hormuz. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai has stated that the focus of any future talks with Washington is no longer the nuclear issue, but ending the war in a way that secures Iran's interests. Tehran has linked negotiations to key demands including lifting sanctions, compensation, and even guarantees against future aggression. While the comments come amid a growing standoff over the Strait of Hormuz, a critical global oil route, with both sides accusing each other of escalating the conflict. Listen in to the reactions coming in on this.
خب الان اینجا دیگه موضوع هسته‌ای موضوع اصلی مذاکرات نمیتونه باشه. موضوع اصلی خاتمه دادن به جنگ به نحوی که منافع و مصالح ما رو تأمین بکنه. ما از اول گفتیم این آتش بس رو به این دلیل میپذیریم که زمینه ساز و
Meanwhile, on the other side, US President Donald Trump has ruled out the possibility of nuclear warfare against Iran, even as tensions between the two countries continue to escalate. Speaking at the White House, Trump stated that the US does not need nuclear force and such weapons should never be used. The remarks come amid a deepening standoff over the Strait of Hormuz, a critical oil global route, with Washington even asserting control over the passage as pressure mounts on Tehran. Listen in to the reactions coming in.
You use a nuclear weapon against Iran. You posted on Truth Social a few weeks ago.
We don't need it. Why do I need it? Why would a stupid question like that be asked? Why would I use a nuclear weapon when we've totally, in a very conventional way, decimated them without it? No, I wouldn't use it. A nuclear weapon should never be allowed to be used by anybody.
Well, let's talk a little about the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the US President Donald Trump has said that he ordered the US military to shoot and kill small Iranian boats that deploy mines to choke the traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Trump's post on social media came shortly after the US military seized another tanker associated with smuggling of Iranian oil. Now, this has, of course, created a standoff with Tehran over the strait, through which, of course, 20% of oil, crude and natural gas of the world passes through. Here's an Associated Press report coming in from Job Cambrell. Take a look.
U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening to destroy the small boats that the Iranians are using to mine the Strait of Hormuz. This is coming after such small boats were used by Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard to seize 2 cargo ships passing through the strait. That strait in peacetime sees about 20% of all crude oil and natural gas pass through it, but since the Americans and the Israelis launched this war on Iran back in February, Tehran has maintained a chokehold on that international waterway. Now, Trump's threat comes as U.S. forces also seized a second oil tanker associated with Iran's oil trade out in the Indian Ocean between Sri Lanka and Indonesia. Now, this ship had been previously sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury over being part of what's known as the Iranian Shadow Fleet, which is bringing that sanctioned crude oil out of Iran and into Asian markets, particularly into China. Iran has not responded to either Trump's threat or this latest seizure, but Iran has insisted that it will maintain the closure on the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, what happens in Lebanon also impacts what happens in the war between Washington and Tehran. The U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a 3-week extension of the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Following talks at the White House, this has occurred. Speaking alongside Israeli and Lebanese officials, Trump described the moment as a significant progress, with both sides signaling a willingness to move forward with the negotiations. Listen in to the reactions coming in on this.
They've agreed to an additional 3 weeks of, no firing, ceasefire, no more firing. Let's see. We hope that happens. It's not going to happen between them, but they do have Hezbollah to think about. And we're going to be working with Lebanon to get things straightened out in that country. I really believe it's something we can do pretty easily, just with the power of who we are. They're great people, the Lebanese people. We have our ambassador here who has done a fantastic job, ambassador to Lebanon from the United States. And we had a great conversation, and I think it's the beginning of something very important. It'd be a wonderful thing to get this worked out simultaneously with what we're doing in Iran.
Well, swiftly moving on to more updates coming in at this hour. A U.S. soldier involved in the operation to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has been charged with using classified information to make over $400,000 in prediction market bets. Now, prosecutors say that Ken Van Dyke placed at least 13 wagers on platforms like Polymarket, betting on events tied directly to the mission he was a part of. He now faces multiple charges, including fraud and misuse of government information, and could face potentially 60 years in prison. Meanwhile, reacting to the case, U.S. President Donald Trump said that he was unaware of the charges.
So bets that are being placed as well on the Iran conflict too, and there have been some trackings where people suspect that there's insider trading happening on these prediction markets around the war. Are you concerned?
Well, you know, the whole world, unfortunately, has become somewhat of a casino. And you look at what's going on all over the world, in Europe and every place, they're doing these betting things.
Well, let's now move focus to Lebanon. Now, Lebanon is considering a significant legal shift as its cabinet discusses a possible move to join the International Criminal Court for a limited period. Deputy Prime Minister Tariq Misri said that the move would allow international prosecutors to investigate alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity committed on Lebanese soil. Lebanon is not currently a member of the court, and any such step would mark a major policy change for the country.
جرى نقاش حول فكرة يدافع عنها الكثيرون في لبنان تقول بقبول اختصاص المحكمة الجنائية الدولية لمدة محددة لكي تنظر في جرائم الحرب والجرائم ضد الإنسانية التي ارتكبت على الأرض اللبنانية.
Meanwhile, tracking more updates coming in at this hour. Well, police in Baton Rouge confirmed that 10 people were injured after 2 groups opened fire inside the food court of the Mall of Louisiana. Investigators say that the argument escalated into gunfire with multiple rounds hitting bystanders. At least 2 victims required surgery while others were treated for injuries. Authorities even said they stated that the suspects fled the scene and that no arrests have been made so far in the case. A large police response team was quickly secured the area, and officials say that there has been no ongoing threat to the public. Moving on, tracking more updates coming in. A fast-moving wildfire driven by shifting winds has devastated parts of southern eastern Georgia in the United States. The fire has destroyed homes and even vehicles, while forcing residents into urgent evacuation. Now in Brantley County, officials say that at least 87 living spaces have been lost, with even fears that the tolls could rise. Residents report emotional strain as flames approach neighboring areas, and firefighting efforts remain challenged by unpredictable winds.
We currently have now 87 basically living spaces, living places that have been destroyed. If this fire doesn't shift, we could have more than that before dark tonight.
Well, moving on, now Russia has launched the Angara 1.2 rocket carrying military satellites from the Plesetsk Cosmodrome. Now the Russian Defense Ministry stated that the light class rocket lifted off at about 11:29 a.m. Moscow time as part of a mission to support military operations in space. The Angara series is designed to replace older Soviet-era launch systems and even strengthen Russia's independent satellite launch capabilities. The ministry even described the launch as successful, though details about the satellites remain undisclosed at the moment. While moving on, Meta Platforms is now about set to lay as many as 8,000 of its employees, which is nearly 10% of its workforce. This comes as it ramps up spending on artificial intelligence. Now, the company states that the cuts are aimed at improving efficiency and even freeing up resources for AI infrastructure and high-cost talent. Meanwhile, reports go on to indicate that Meta will also leave around 6,000 roles unfilled as part of restructuring. The move reflects a broader shift across the tech industry, where companies are now redirecting investments around AI development, as this, of course, can be also seen in this story. On that note, stepping into a very short break, more news and updates on the other side. Be with us.
Introducing McDonald's cards. Over £4 million in cash prizes and free food in every pack.
I'm a simple man, but now I'm in my 50s, things are getting a little more complicated. Retirement's peeking around the corner, and I wanted to make sure my family would be really looked after if anything happened to me. That's why I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. They're the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period. Unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years, with Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one. And you're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Learning more couldn't be simpler. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team in just one phone call.
Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period and no annoying trips to the doctors either. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Now I'm with Cover Today, I can get on with something much more interesting.
To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0808 143 4774 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
We know that living with diabetes can make daily life a challenge, and we're here to help.
I felt very low with the diagnosis and very lonely as well and embarrassed.
I think people don't necessarily realise the impact that being diabetic can have on you and the amount of extra decisions you have to make a day through carb counting every single thing you eat.
If you're struggling with the everyday challenges diabetes can bring, become a Diabetes UK member today. Receive this informative welcome pack and Balance magazine.
Balance magazine has been very good in giving me tips to manage my diabetes on a day-to-day basis.
One of the things I was recommended to do was exercise. What motivated me was my love of dance, and I got that back.
Join a community that really understands. Call 0800 035 7605 or go online to become a member for just £5 a month.
For a chance to win a share of £20.2 million. Sign up to Postcode Lottery's May draws before midnight on the 30th of April. Is your door in the draw?
A little something for spring is coming your way from Tesco Mobile. A £100 gift card. It's yours with the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra, complete with privacy screen and unlimited data for £54.99 a month with club card prices, saving you £522. So switch today to enjoy a little extra this spring. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
It feels good knowing that your future's in hand. Evlo can offer you a loan from £1,000 to £15,000, whether it's for home improvements, new appliances, a car, or for some of life's big moments. So even if you've had problems with credit before, Evlo looks beyond your credit score and always takes a case-by-case approach. Visit evlo.co.uk to get your conditional decision in minutes. Evlo, your future in your hands.
Right now, terrible things are happening to donkeys. They work all day in the blistering sun, without food or water. They're suffering silently, while their backs are breaking. Some are being abandoned and will be left to die alone. But the worst thing you can do to a donkey isn't to break its body. It's to break its heart. Because donkeys are loyal, loving creatures. They trust us to care for them. And when they're hurt and abused, they feel it inside too. But right now, you can do something incredible for donkeys. You can support the Donkey Sanctuary. Just call 0800 035 9318 and give £2 a month. Because your support can help protect donkeys. You can help us to treat the sick and the injured. You'll help to mend broken hearts so that they can learn to love and trust again. Right now, so many working donkeys around the world are suffering. But we can only be there for them with your help. So please, call 0800 035 9318 or text HEART7 to 78866 and give £2 a month to the Donkey Sanctuary, because terrible things are happening to donkeys. Please, do something incredible for them right now.
AutoSerge automatically checks for ways to save on your car and home insurance, so the hard work is done for you. The Compare the Market app, the simplest way to save.
Welcome back. This is Reet, Kaur, Sahani, and you're watching NDTV. Well, 4 decades after the Chernobyl disaster, nature is reclaiming the dead zone. It's seeing life thrive again. The ghost town of Reet is now seeing wildlife and even nature once again. However, a threat of a Russia-Ukraine conflict looms. With this, a place once defined by tragedy is now writing a new chapter. Have a look at our special report.
The world's worst commercial nuclear accident. A disaster that changed the face of the city of Pripyat. From a thriving modern Soviet city to an abandoned, radioactive ghost town frozen in time. On April 26, 1986, an explosion at the nuclear power plant in Ukraine sent radiation across Europe and forced the evacuation of entire town, displacing tens of thousands. 4 decades later, Chernobyl still remains too dangerous for humans, but the wildlife has moved back in. This contaminated land is now seeing the world's wildest horses roam free. Across the Chernobyl exclusion zone, Przewalski's horses, once introduced as experiment, now graze in a radioactive landscape.
Кінь Przewalskiego, йому вже скоро буде майже 30 років, як він живе в зоні відчуження. Якщо бути коректним, то це 28 років, тому що 98-го року завезли декілька десятків, зараз їх тут десь 120-140 по різним оцінкам.
These stocky sand-colored horses with almost toy-like appearance are native to Mongolia. These horses are distinct from domestic breeds with 33 pairs of chromosomes compared to 32 in domesticated horses.
І загалом кінь Przewalskiego – це класно, тому що це останній дикий кінь на нашій планеті. І коли його тут бачиш, тварина, яка колись була володарем степів Євразії, це дійсно цікаво. Як фахівцю, так і естетично.
With human pressure gone, parts of the exclusion zone now resemble European landscapes from centuries past. Trees pierce abandoned buildings, roads dissolve into forest, weathered Soviet-era signs stand in overgrown cemeteries. Wolves now prowl the vast no man's land. Brown bears have returned after more than a century. Populations of moose, red deer have rebounded.
Ми маємо навантаження пов'язане з мілітаризацією зони, ми маємо навантаження пов'язане з тим, що те, що ви розповідали, часто тут падають шахеди і підпалюють ліси, там забруднюють наземний ґрунтовий покрив і все інше. З одного боку, це проблема, з якою там треба адаптуватися, боротися, з іншого боку, той же самий мілітарний вплив у нас в заповіднику досліджують фахівці і кажуть, що це така більш, як кажуть, майже як лабораторія не тільки впливу радіації, а й мілітарного впливу.
However, the threats haven't ended. Russia's 2022 invasion has brought fighting through the exclusion zone, with troops digging into the contaminated soil. Fires linked to military activity have swept through forest. Today, the zone is no longer just an accidental refuge for wildlife. It has become a heavily monitored military corridor marked by concrete barriers, barbed wire, and minefields. A landscape of what some describe as grim beauty. Chernobyl is likely to remain off limits for generations, too dangerous for people, yet full of life. Bureau Report, NDTV World.
Moving on, a recent change in Canada's citizenship law is prompting a growing number of Americans to explore dual nationality. Under the revised rules introduced in December 2025, people with Canadian ancestry, including grandparents, can now claim citizenship, significantly widening the eligibility for citizenship. Immigration lawyers say applications have surged, with some firms reporting a 5-fold increase in the cases. Moving on to more updates coming in at this hour. Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has welcomed a historic 90 billion euros European Union loan package aimed at strengthening Ukraine's war-hit economy and defense capabilities. Speaking at the EU summit in Cyprus, he said that funding would boost internal production, energy and military resources, and could even push Russia towards negotiations. Now, the European Union also approved new sanctions against Russia despite earlier opposition from Hungary and Slovakia. The funds are expected to be released in the coming weeks. Moving on to more updates coming in, while the Warner Bros. Discovery shareholders have now approved an $81 billion merger with Paramount Global, moving the deal closer to completion. The deal would unite 2 of the 5 legacy studios remaining in Hollywood, backed by Skydance Media. The acquisition could unite HBO Max, CNN, and Harry Potter with CBS, and even Paramount Plus Warner Bros. Discovery CEO, in fact, David has said he's called it a key milestone. The deal, evaluated at about $111 billion, including debt, still faces regulatory scrutiny amid concerns over consolidation, layoffs, and rising prices in an already concentrated media industry.
A green light from company shareholders increases the likelihood of that becoming a reality, but it's not a done deal quite yet. The buyout still faces ongoing regulatory reviews.
Well, Pope Leo delivered a wide-ranging address aboard the papal plane while returning to the Vatican City after his 11-day Africa tour. He urged the United States and Iran to resume talks, condemned capital punishment, and called for humane treatment of migrants. Reflecting on his visit across Algeria, Angola, Cameroon, and even Equatorial Guinea, he said that church teachings should extend beyond a narrow focus on sexual issues. Well, let's track more updates coming in. The University of Chile contributed and even distributed 3,000 free copies of a prose anthology by Nobel laureate Gabriela Mistral to mark World Book Day. The initiative, part of its free books program, drew large crowds in Santiago, with hundreds of people lining up for the books. The collection even showcases Mistral's essays highlighting themes of women's education, social justice, democracy, and even peace. Tracking more news coming in from the entertainment industry at the Times 100 Summit on Wednesday, British singer turned fashion designer Victoria Beckham reflected on her journey from a posh spice of the Spice Girls to a successful designer. Now, she described the pressures of public life as a double-edged sword, but even highlighted now how she uses her platform to connect with audiences and even promote her brand. With a continued focus on empowering women, is what she said.
Look, I think that I am, you know, a person that people will listen to, okay, because I'm in the public eye. And that is a double-edged sword. You know, when my business was struggling, because my name is on the label, you know, that story was all over the front pages of newspapers. Now, I can also use that to my advantage. Take, for example, when I do beauty tutorials, and I can use my voice and my platform to communicate with my community, whether that's styling tips of how to wear my collections, or whether that's to show my beauty community how I put my makeup on and talk about the product and why of the product.
Moving on, singer David Burke appeared in court in Los Angeles on Wednesday as his legal team pushed for a judge to quickly move his case to trial within 10 days. Now, Burke has pleaded not guilty to 2 charges including first-degree murder, continuous sexual abuse and even mutilation in the death of a 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Prosecutors say that they are processing vast digital evidence, including terabytes of data, and allege his iCloud account contained a significant amount of child abuse material. Authorities say that the teen died from sharp force injuries, while the defense maintains that his innocence as proceedings continue in the case. Moving on, as the BAFTA-winning biopic I Swear prepares for its theatrical release, writer Kirk Jones and award-winning actor Robert Aramayo have discussed the film, its subject and the incident at the BAFTA award ceremony. Now, the film follows the inspiring journey of Tourette syndrome activist John Davidson, portrayed by Aramayo. Now, Davidson involuntarily shouted a racial slur during the BAFTA awards as Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were on stage presenting an award. Well, let's track more updates coming in and now from the domestic front. Indian cricket legend Sachin Tendulkar turns 53 today. He celebrated as one of course, India's biggest cricket icons. The Master Blaster now holds the record for about 100 international centuries and over 34,000 runs. Of course, he's also played a key role in India's 2011 World Cup triumph and was honoured with the Bharat Ratna in 2014 when he retired from cricket in November 2013. Outside of his life from cricket, Tendulkar has also made significant contribution through philanthropy, supporting childcare and even education, and serving as a mentor and global ambassador for the sport. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Well, that's all for now on the World Report. On that note, slipping into a very short break. More news and updates on the other side. Be with us.
I don't sugarcoat. I shoot straight and tell you stories the way they need to be told. Unfiltered, unafraid, unmissable. That's how I roll. Watch me, Priyanka Deo, on NDTV World. Namaste.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
Hello and welcome to Reet, Kaur, Sahani, and you're watching NDTV. We've got an action-packed show lined up just for you, but let's first take you through the top stories of the hour. Well, taking you through the top story of the hour, now what's also important to understand is that according to reports, Mujtaba Khamenei is not really functioning as per the Iranian Supreme Leader and is not currently in control. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has questioned Iran's leadership, saying it does not even know who is leading Iran. With Mujtaba away from the public eye, who really runs the show is a big question. Let's take a look at this special report.
This is the face of Iran's leadership crisis. Just weeks after taking over as supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei has effectively vanished from public life. No speeches, no appearances, not even a recorded voice message. According to US media reports, Mujtaba is severely injured and unable to exercise centralized authority, communicating only through written notes. And in that silence, a vacuum, one now being filled not by clerics, but by generals. Iran is no longer being run from the Supreme Leader's office, but by a shadowy inner circle of IRGC commanders.